Hello, everyone, and welcome to some MiSTer FPGA news. In this episode, we will be talking about the Sega Saturn core, a CDI core, a core for Sega ST-V arcade hardware, new arcade cores, and so much more. Also, check out my channel sponsor, MiSTer Add-ons, a place where you can get all your MiSTer needs, things like full MiSTer setups, accessories, I/O boards, and more. Now let's get to the news. Ranny Snice released some new wallpapers for the MiSTer FPGA. There's one based on the arcade game Phoenix, another is based on Tecmo's Rygar, and there is one for Pac-Land. Another artist, Anime Otaku, also created a wallpaper for Pac-Land too. You can obtain these wallpapers by enabling them in the Update All script. Wizzo posted a preview of what the text-based user interface for Zaparoo core will look like. It's looking great right now, and seems to provide a more organized interface for working on Zaparoo right from your MiSTer FPGA. Wizzo also says that it should also look good on a CRT. Zaparoo is a project that allows you to launch games with encoded NFC cards and tags. Protego has released a beta core for Patreon subscribers that supports two new games: Return to Ishtar, an RPG-like game for the arcade, and also Genpei, an action game that can change different modes of play. On Reddit, user Glenn Pegden spoke about a tool they are creating called TransFS, and it looks to provide a way to access games from any device. This is how they describe the tool. TransFS is a fuse-based virtual file system that presents structured, emulator-friendly views of software archives, such as ROMs, BIOS, and software packs, without modifying their original format. By dynamically mapping archive.org content into the file layouts required by various emulation platforms, TransFS eliminates the need for local file extraction, renaming, or repackaging. Some key features are also stated on the GitHub. There's a Fuse-powered virtual file system to present data download from archive.org in the format expected by various apps. On copy of the contents, this means that original archive content remains untouched. Translations occur in memory. There is smart renaming and structure. This automatically adapts files and folders to the conventions of target emulators and platforms. ROM set and BIOS handling. This will merge split ROMs, unzip on demand, or reshape sets for compatibility. This feature is planned. And Dockerized deployment. This will be a fully containerized SMB server for network-based sharing with retro devices and virtual machines. Some cases mentioned on the GitHub are retro emulation environment, such as RetroArch, MAME, and MiSTer, software preservation setups, testing environments requiring specific file layout conventions, and dynamic presentation of large archive.org datasets via Samba/SMB. This tool is in the pre-alpha stage, so there is still a lot of development that needs to be done. At the moment, only some Acorn and Amstrad computer cores are compatible. On the GitHub, it looks like there are plans to make this compatible with MiSTer, MAME, RetroArch, RetroPie, and RetroBat. I will certainly be watching the development of this tool as it looks very useful. Protego released a new beta for the arcade game Metro Cross from Namco. This game plays similar to an endless runner you would see on mobile phone, but there is an end to each level and you have a time limit to reach the end. Protego also says that the game Alien Sector is almost working on this core, but it needs more time before it can be ready. Other Namco games that are a possibility for the core are Dragon Buster and Sky Kid, the non-deluxe version of Sky Kid. But whether they fit better on the JT Pac-Land or JT Thunder core is yet to be determined. Downloader is now at version 2.2. This is the official script for the MiSTer FPGA that handles the downloads of official core releases and MiSTer FPGA updates. It does not require the Update All script, but Update All does use Downloader. Here's what's new. A native binary of Downloader is now created called downloader_bin, which is available in the latest GitHub release. This will significantly speed up updates. When installed, Downloader bin is used by the launcher script by default, providing a significant speedup. If Downloader bin fails unexpectedly, the launcher displays an error, logs it to a folder, and then falls back to the standard Python build. The launcher script now uses the SSL certificate file in the downloader directory, but falls back to another certificate if there are issues. It also prompts to install new certificates if none are available. SSL certificates are now checked only when downloader fails to fetch secure content, saving around half a second per run. Loading the local store now occurs in the middle of the initial job pipeline, yielding a small speedup. A more precise time function is now used to avoid spurious time errors. When downloader detects a downloader run signal, it removes the file at the end of the run so it can signal abnormal termination. The launcher uses this to detect unexpected downloader bin failures. Output only shows the read of the downloader.ini file when verbose is set to true. There are various refactors to the CI pipeline and in error handling. MV-related errors were removed during Linux updates by using rsync instead. The wait time before rebooting after a Linux update was increased from 24 to 31 seconds, and reboot after firmware update from 3 to 5 seconds. There are also other minor fixes and improvements. Update All is now at version 2.3.1. This update includes the ability to use the new native binary for downloader. As mentioned before, this new downloader will run significantly faster. Another update has the BIOS database using a different location and includes 3 new systems: CDI, Pokemon Mini, and Super Cassette Vision. This is automatically handled by Update All. There are other minor fixes and tweaks, and they can be viewed in the changelog. Please consider supporting the Ypsilon on Patreon. The updater and downloading tools he created makes it so easy to keep our MiSTer FPGA setups up to date. Reverend Gumby has officially released the Super Cassette Vision core. This core is based on a console from 1984 that was only released in Europe and Japan. Its graphics and sound capabilities were pretty simple, but better than what you would have gotten on an Atari 2600, but not as good as an NES. The core features the following: a Psycho-accurate CPU core, logic-accurate audio processor, the video processor is implemented, and there's cartridge mapper support for all known release cartridges. Keep in mind that a BIOS is also required to run this core. If you are a fan of the Commodore PET 2001 computer, then you will be glad to know that there is a test core that has added disk support. You can download this core from the MiSTer FPGA forums. On GitHub, Rowan Underwood developed an alternate way of filtering out cores in games you aren't using on your MiSTer FPGA. They created a script that scans MiSTer Games folders and deletes cores and directories based on if the game folders are empty or not. If you only have the games you want on your MiSTer FPGA, this could be a more convenient way of filtering out cores that you are not using. You do have to be aware of folders that are supposed to have only one file, like BIOS files. So you may have to manually delete those single files if you don't want the related core to appear on your menu. The author does warn us to use this script at your own risk, as they are not a trained programmer. Always use anything that deletes files with caution. If you don't feel comfortable using this unofficial script, then you can filter out cores and games using official filters during the update process. This will be a more involved process, but there are also more advanced filters like filtering out by screen, cheats, and so much more. I'll provide links to those filters in the description. The Ypsilon has added 2 new arcade filters that will help arcade cabinet owners with rotated screens. Additionally, the Ypsilon updated the following for the distribution repository. It now also supports MRAs present in the folder called releases/MRA of the arcade repositories, and there are more assertions on the CI to make sure important files are being kept. Behind the scenes, Sega Saturn core developer SRG320 is always working on updates that aren't yet part of the official build. But you still do have the option to download unofficial builds if you don't feel like waiting for official releases. However, we now have a new official release with a lot of updates. Here are some of the new features included. There's added support for 3D pad digital mode. The core now uses the MiSTer date and time for the Sega Saturn system date and time. Support for 48 megabit development RAM cartridges was added. There's dual mission stick support via snack, and the wheel was fixed. Additionally, SRG320 also updated the major parts of the Saturn, which significantly increased the compatibility of this core. Here are some of the fixes. In Dead or Alive, there have been some freezes fixed. There were sprite fixes to Battle Garega. In Asuka 120%, there were fixes to the timer. Mortal Kombat 2 had character fixes. Grandia had fixes to the items menu. There's a Boss 4 fix to Saturn Bomberman. In Panzer Dragoon Saga, there's fixes to the name entry screen and a Horizon line fix. There's a fog fix for a stall, fixes to the Power Slave credit screen. There's a cutscene fix for Advanced VG, many fixes to Guardian Heroes, and SRG-320 even implemented fixes for Shenmue back in Yokosuka, which is a homebrew tribute to the Dreamcast classic. Other games being affected by this update are NBA Live 98, Linko Liver Story, Princess Crown, Tomb Raider, Revolution X, Atlantis, The Lost Tales, Dark Savior, Initial D, Doom, Nights into Dreams, and since this is such a large update, many more games could be affected. With the latest release of the Sega Saturn core, SRG-320 also released a core for Sega's ST-V arcade hardware. This is hardware that is based on the Sega Saturn, and initially, SRG-320 had both the Sega Saturn and ST-V portions in the same core. The reason for the split was that each system has resources that are exclusive to them, like the Saturn running off of CD-ROMs and the ST-V arcade hardware running off of cartridges. So it just makes sense to have separate cores for each, considering one is an arcade machine and the other is a home console. Even though the Saturn and ST-V shared similar hardware, there were differences in the games that were ported to the Saturn, like Groove On Fight's high resolution graphics and no loading times in Radiant Silvergun. A list showing differences between Saturn and ST-V versions of games was compiled by Toya on the MiSTer FPGA Discord and is available on the Sega Saturn Shiro website, so check it out if you want to find out more. Also, run Update All to obtain this core. A core for Konami's 1982 arcade game Tutankham is in development by Rodimus FVC on GitHub. On Wikipedia, it is described as a game combining a maze shoot 'em up with light puzzle solving elements. No core downloads are available yet. Mr. MultiSystem 2 reviews and deep dives have been appearing on YouTube by multiple content creators. I provide a list of videos in the description. The Mr. MultiSystem 2 is an upcoming MiSTer FPGA console. Unlike the original MultiSystem, this one will have the FPGA chip built onto its board. The device is available for pre-order now. The System 18 light gun shooter Laser Ghost is now playable on the MiSTer FPGA. It is a beta core, so at the moment it's only available to Jotego's Patreon subscribers. The CDI core, being developed by Slammy, has been officially released and you can update your MiSTer FPGA to obtain the latest build. If you want to keep track of the status of this core, you can visit the MiSTer FPGA Discord or check out the GitHub README file. Unfortunately, there is no digital video cartridge support. That still needs a lot of work. There have been so many MiSTer FPGA related updates that I wasn't able to talk about all of them. So here's a preview of what I will be talking about in the next episode. I'll be talking about updates to the Exity 440 core, a MiSTer MIDI board, updates to the MiSTer Organized project, maintenance to some of Jotego's cores, ThunderFox being added to the F2 core, and more. So that's it for this episode. Please also try to support Sorge, the maintainer of the MiSTer project, and other MiSTer developers and contributors on support platforms such as Patreon and Ko-fi. Their hard work allows us to enjoy this amazing project. I also provided links to all my sources in the description. Make sure to also check out RetroRGB.com to see my MiSTer news videos in blog form and to get more retro-related content. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like, and if you want to see more content like this, hit the subscribe button and this bell icon so you can get notified of future videos. Thanks for watching, and I'll speak to you next time.